All right, guys, here's my first shot at a podcast. We're going to call it The Hunt of a Lifetime because it was. So we'll go back to 2021. My uncle, he had drew a limited entry South Cache elk tag. And, we went through all the ropes. We, scouted preseason. We, just try to find him a good bull, and kind of struggling. The hunt started on a Saturday, and we ended up getting him on a bull Thursday. And those of you that don't know, the limited entry elk tag before this last year's changes went from Saturday to that following Sunday. Anyway, so we were, we've hunted hard. We were, trying to find him a good bull. Well, we went up the canyon, Thursday, couldn't turn anything up. So Thursday night came around. We decided to get in the trucks and head home. We decided that everything was, it was a done deal for that night hunt. And on our way out, we happened to find this bull, and keep this bull in mind. We see this bull. He's probably about a mile out. Me and my uncle, we go taking off because it was right at dark, and we go taking off. We ended up getting down to 200 yards, and we got him all, sat up, just getting ready for his shot. And he came out. I stopped him. Uncle shot, missed. He turned around, stopped him again. He missed. And that bull walked off, kind of out of our lives. Kind of didn't think about it anymore. And we got back up to the truck, and my dad, he was actually watching through the spotting scope. And first thing he said was, "That bull right there is worth burning my 23 points for this South Cache tag." He was putting in for the premium tag, and so it's kind of harder to get. The Utah draw system's kind of wacky in that way. But, so long story short, he missed this bull, and it was actually sweet. The next day we went up and actually got him on a nice 6-point that he was really happy with. But it kind of lit a fire in my dad's eyes, kind of lit a fire in my eyes too, because this bull was like phenomenal. It's something that you never see. And I would like to mention too that all this is do it yourself, like no guides, no nothing. It was public land, just a couple of guys that just love what they do, and just a family gathering of, So let's fast forward to 2022. My dad ended up drawing this tag, 23 points, like I said. And you find out in about May if you drew, and it was from then on, it was grind time. So we started off by, we were putting up trail cameras. We were, we were just scouting, just to turn this bull up that my uncle had missed the previous year. Well, as we're doing this, we're learning new country. We didn't really know where this bull had came from or is going to, or any of that in that aspect. So we were kind of at a loss. We kind of knew where we had seen this bull. There's always cows. It's, just a great elk environment. So we set up cameras everywhere. We ran cameras. We did a lot of scouting. And not just there. We scouted all over the South Cache unit, and never really, turned up anything. Cameras never really gave us good intel on anything. So we were at a loss, honestly. And that year we all had dedicated deer tags for Utah, and Um, you know, we found some decent bulls, I guess, like a couple weeks before the hunt started. And so our main focus kind of went towards that. We found these bulls. They're good bulls, 320-ish bulls, something you don't really pass on. And so we found those bulls, and they kind of were in the back of our heads, like, okay, yeah, those are awesome bulls, but we have our minds set on something else. So, as time goes by, we're not getting anything, we're not seeing much, and it was probably about 2 weeks before the hunt started. Me and my brother-in-law and a buddy were out sitting on water and just hunting. We were hunting general season spike elk, and we were sitting in a water hole and had a beautiful, like 6-point, 350-ish bull, big back end, just awesome. I came into 10 yards, and we didn't have my dad with me or any of that, so we kind of were just keeping that, we were just waiting for the night hunt to get over so we could, tell him this good news that we just saw a really big bull. Well, as the night's going, it's getting dark, so we start heading back to the trucks, and as we get there, my dad is sitting in the parking lot next to our trucks, and looking at him, you can tell that there's something that, just like happened. And, I walk up to him and we're like, yeah, like, you won't believe the bull we just saw. And he's like, I bet you won't believe the bull that I just saw. And I'm like, okay, well, let's see. And they showed me this bull, and I just looked at it, and it's one of those things that just you're lost for words. You don't know what to say. You don't know what to do. Like, it's just jaw-dropping, essentially. And so here I am, excited to tell him about this beautiful bull that we saw, and he shows up with this, and it's not even, like, can't even compare it because it's just a totally different bull. And we got looking at it. This bull was probably within, 800 yards of where we shot at him the year before. And it's the bull that my uncle had missed. And so we're all jonesing, like, this is 2 weeks before the hunt, keep in mind, and there's that waiting time now. So we found our target bull. Well, now we have 2 weeks to, hopefully the limited entry archery hunt on the South Cache is still going. So we got those people to worry about, just in hopes that nobody else sees this bull. And so for the last 2 weeks, me and my dad had spent almost all day, every day, watching, trying to turn this bull up again. And he did like the Houdini act on us. We could not find him again. He just disappeared. Never saw him again. Like, never could turn him up. And so getting down to opening day of his hunt, kind of didn't know where to go. Like, I mean, we knew the general area he was in. He was obviously in the same area he was in as last year. So we go and we get set up first thing in the morning. We go get set up on a ridge top that we feel like, okay, essentially it was probably 500 yards from where we saw him 2 weeks ago. Sat there all morning, didn't hear anything, it's September, so usually the elk are going crazy. But sat there all morning, decided, we didn't see anything, didn't hear anything, let's change locations. So we all get back, we go and we change locations, and needless to say, like, we hunted all over where we saw him. Like, just trying to hear him out, trying to find bugles, trying to just locate, because we're at this point we're lost. We're running circles. And that evening, we went and hunted around a water hole that we know of, just trying to find anything, trying to hear them, trying to just turn this bull back up, and nothing. Like, it's crickets. It's not like nothing. And so we decided, okay, we hunted till dark, started walking out in the dark, and this is about the funniest thing that can happen. We had a massive, and I mean massive, rainstorm come through, like, flash flood kind of thing. And so we're all walking out through the sagebrush flats. We got, lightning bolts striking down in the flats next to us, and it's, just terrible weather. Well, we get back up. We got the rest of the family just waiting because no one has heard from us all day. They're waiting at the trucks. We get up to them, and we have some guys come up and say, "We shot your bull this morning." And anybody that hunts can, vouch for this. That's just someone, stuck a needle in your air cells and everything's just gone. Like, we spent all summer looking for this bull, and just couldn't, we finally turned him up, and then for someone to come up and say, "We shot your bull this morning." And it kind of just you just feel defeated at that point. Me and my dad were it was just an upsetting moment. And so we get back, we get in the vehicles, we go back to camp, and we're lost. Like, now it's like, well, what do we do now? Where do we go? And thankfully, we had a couple bulls that we had in our mind. We had the one that I saw the same day that he turned this big bull up, and we had like 2 or 3 other bulls that we had in mind that were just kind of, spares in case we couldn't turn this bull up. So, that night we just strategized. We decided everyone needs to split up. We're gonna go and cover some ground. Everyone's just gonna go see what we can see, essentially. And so morning came. That's what we all did. We all split up. I went and tried to find the bull that I saw 2 weeks prior. My dad went to another location that we had seen a bull like probably a month before, and uncles, they all spread it out. We covered ground that morning. Well, we're sitting in this spot that we had seen these other bulls, and just waiting for one to come out, because they're shooter bulls. Like, anyone's gonna shoot them. And just waiting, and about 9 o'clock in the morning, we get a call on the radio, and it's my uncles, and they're like, "Hey, you guys might want to come take a look at this bull. He's definitely worth a second look." And we're like, okay. And so we get in the vehicles, we run over to my uncle's, and we get parked, and we're getting out the glass, and the bull had worked his way into some deep timber, and so we never got a good look at him. We were just going off of what my uncle said. So we had to make a plan. It was whether, if we wanted to go in there that morning and try to go try to get him out of the trees, try to basically jump shoot out of the trees. And my dad's like, "No, let's just go back to camp. Let's get settled. Let's have a plan, and let's go in and kill this bull tonight." Well, we all go back to camp, and we're all ready. I want to say there was about 10 of us, and we were making our plan, and everyone's saying, "Well, we shouldn't all go. We should just let a few guys go. A couple of us will stay back. We'll go glass." And so on and so forth. Well, my dad's like, no, I want the whole family there. So that's what we did. We all stopped. We all got out. We started up the trailhead, and it was, stopped, took a family picture at the bottom of the trailhead, and it's cool. I'll try to include these pictures into this. It might be at the end of the video. But we stopped, got family pictures, and it was just like, when you're going into a hunt, you just get these feelings. And we started up the trail, and about 200 yards up the trail, we have a bull go off. He's screaming. Kind of took us off guard because we've got 10 guys coming up the hill behind us, and it's hard to be quiet with that many people. And we keep going, and then all of a sudden all hell breaks loose. We got stuff breaking around us, got cows going everywhere. It was chaos. And so as soon as we jumped in, we went running up, tried to find where this bull had went with his cows. Could never turn him up. And so our main plan was to just go back to where my uncles had seen him that morning. So we all get up there. We all get settled down. We got in there early. It was probably about 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the afternoon. We had everybody, sitting up. We had 4 or 5 guys back behind us, 60 yards. And then we had about 4 or 5 of us up with my dad. And it was kind of one of those eerie nights. Like, no noises. You couldn't even hear a bird, chirp. And we had sat there all day, and about, an hour before shooting light, that's when everything, lights up. We hear one bull go off, and then after that one bull screams, it was surround sound. And we had probably 6 or 7 different bulls screaming in this one canyon that we're sitting in. And so, we're just waiting, we're waiting. Nothing's getting really any closer. The bull that my dad ended up killing, he didn't really bugle. He was more of his chuckle is what really, set him off from the others. And so we're waiting, we're just waiting for stuff to come in, and all of a sudden we see 3 cows come down in the clearing down below us, 500 yards away. And we're watching them, and at this point this bull kind of got quiet. He quit bugling, he quit chuckling. So my dad's first thought was let's get up, let's go around, let's cut him off. Let's just try to get in front of this bull. And something in my gut was telling me, because he had his backpack on, he had his gun on his shoulder, like he was ready to go move. Something in my gut was telling me, no, you got to stay right here. Like, this is where it's going to happen. Well, we're sitting there, and these cows just keep funneling through, and before you know it, like, I just tell my dad, like, let's just sit here for a minute. Let's just play this out. There's still elk coming through. Well, he gets down, he takes everything off, and he gets back down on his gun. And keep in mind, time's still going by, and when it's getting dark fast. So he gets back down on his gun, and all you can see at this point, like, all the cows have fed through, and all of a sudden you see the tips of this bull come through the trees. And he comes walking out, and I mean, it was a no-brainer bull. But my dad, he always made this stipulation, like, I want to make sure it's a nice bull, a nice 6-point, and he wasn't going to pull the trigger unless he was sure on the animal he was shooting. And he comes out, and I just remember, like, that's all you saw. You saw his big back end, his fronts, like, everything on this bull is just insane. And my Uncle John, he's sitting right next to us, and he's like, Beef, shoot that bull. And my dad's like, I want to make sure that's a bull that I want. Because 23 years, you're going to be really picky on what you choose to shoot. And I just remember this bull had looked at us and, kind of let out a chuckle and then turned his head. And my dad's like, okay, well, this is where all hell breaks loose. That bull comes out, stops broadside. He gets a look. That's the bull he wants to shoot. And click. His gun doesn't go off. He's shooting a semi-automatic. And this bull stops perfect broadside. First shot, click. And he's like, well, what the hell? So he jacks a shell out, puts another one in, and click. Second click. And at this point, he's frustrated, as anyone would be. And I keep cow calling. This bull's still interested. He keeps looking up at us, keeps stopping. And by the third time, he got another one in, and it went off. And we couldn't really tell with the first couple shots what had happened, or, it was kind of just... It was getting to that point where it's hard to tell. And by the last shot, that bull had took 2 steps, kind of turned around, and all you see in your binoculars is his head tilts back and he just falls. And at that point, everyone's up, everyone's cheering, screaming. You look back behind us. All 5 people that were back behind us come running down. It was an exciting moment that, we realized we had killed a big bull, but we didn't really know what kind of caliber of bull it was until we walked up on it. And so, we're celebrating, we're hugging, high-fiving, and we get all of our stuff on, we start walking over to it, and a lot of times animals have a ground shrinkage there, but when we walked up to this bull, it was nothing short. It was bigger than what we had thought. And we get up to it, it's an emotional moment for everybody. We had 10 people with us. It was all my uncles, my sister, my wife, my brother-in-law. It was just one of those times that, everyone got to cherish this moment because everyone had been a part of this hunt all year. And for something to finally come out, turn around for us, and so anyway, we get this bull, we get them all taken care of and, taken out, and my dad actually had entered it into the Boone and Crockett. The bull scored 398. A tremendous bull for public land, do it yourself, and that's the story behind probably one of the best hunts that I've ever been involved with. And I guess for me to talk about this, it's the determination. If you draw one of these tags and if you put in a lot of effort, you put in a lot of time, and the main thing is just don't get discouraged in what you're doing. Someone can come up to you and say, yeah, your target bull's dead, but at the end of the day, we were in there all day. We never heard a shot. We never heard even an elk to even go after to shoot at. And so I guess what you should get from this story is don't ever give up. Don't let other people tell you stuff to maybe make you turn the other way or anything like that. You keep pushing until you see that animal dead physically or your tag is on that animal. And 2, just, put in the time, put in the effort, surround yourself with good people to come and help you, and do these things because, like, I mean, I drew the tag this year, and I'm telling you, like, this hunt that I got to be a part of with my dad is something I'll never forget. He's the one that's taught me how to elk hunt. He's the one that has, introduced me to the whole hunting scene. And for me to be right next to him and get to put in the time and the effort, the scouting, and then to see him become, successful in this hunt at the end of it was just the icing on the cake. It was humbling, and I don't think there's a better guy that could have got him. But just, if you take anything from this, never give up. Just keep pushing, push, and eventually something will work out in your favor, and it'll all come together in the end, or maybe it won't, and that's part of hunting. So that is the story behind one of the best hunts that I've ever been, and I'm going to try to keep messing around with these podcasts. If you guys want to hear about things, you want to hear about different hunts, if you want, like, some, just anything hunting related, if you guys want to see things, you want to hear things, just let me know. We can touch base on those subjects as they come in, or as of that, I will just, keep posting my personal experiences, my stories. Hopefully I can have some other people come on here and talk with me, and we can give you guys some good listening content. So with that being said, if there's anything you want to hear, just let me know, and we will try to touch base on it, and let me know how I did, and we will go from there. I appreciate it, guys. Have a good one.